up, and away, I guess. Anyway, let's turn that off. So I'm going to react to this is the comic story, and I don't know if I'm going to get copyright claimed or not. We'll see. I'm going to look at comic story. Rest in peace to the comic historian. Passed away, I think, last year or this year. I'm older than what he would have been now. That's strange. So anyway, I'll talk about Trump in a separate post. Oh my God, that what they did to Trump. I don't blame him. Is the short version of that. But let's shift from politics. Let's get to the superhero, which kind of borders on politics when you think about injustice. Okay, so this is a 43-minute piece. I'm going to.
Hi, this is Zamora in the Little Injustice universe. If somebody within Superman
So this is an
would be able
update.
to actually stop him. Today we're going to explore a
So this is the update to. I don't know when this came out last year, but this is the update to all the injustice stories and video games that have come out. So I'm going to take. I have not seen this before. I have not seen the stories before, so I don't know what the latest chapter of Injustice is. Road to Injustice, is that what it is?
storyline of John Kent going to the Injustice universe. And I won't really spoil about what happens to bring him there in general, but today we're going to follow John Kent Superman as he's offered an opportunity to go into the multiverse and help stop problems. And that gets him to the Injustice universe, where we see his reaction to his multiversal father becoming a dictator. This is Comic Story, and nearly daily we bring you comic book videos keeping you up to date as to what is going on in the world of comics, turning them into audio dramas. If you enjoy this, go check it out at your local comic book store. But today we're going to be covering John Kent Superman Road to Injustice, issues 1 through 6. Let's cover that full story. Somewhere across the multiverse, Superman hears a voice calling out to him, asking if he'll be running. Superman says that he will not be running, and the voice tells him, of course not. They never run.
So this is within
Seconds later, Ultraman comes crashing down
the current
onto
universe.
Superman, and as the smoke clears, Ultraman grabs Superman by the neck, telling him, "Say it! Say your last words!"
Oh, come on.
Superman struggles at first, but manages to say, "Lois!" And Ultraman laughs. "There it is. It's always the same. Now
Yes,
burn."
it is. It is always the
Ultraman's
same.
heat vision engulfs Superman and turns him to ash. Ultraman turns, walking through a portal, telling him, "That's done. On to the next."
So I think this is all by Tom Taylor, which I have problems with his Superboy John Kent stories, but that'll be for another time, I think.
Meanwhile, over at Earth Zero, Jonathan Kent walks around Metropolis. This is weird. I can walk through the city and not have eyes stare at me. No phones pointing my way, not having to block out the words being whispered about my identity. As much as I hate what Lex Luthor has done, this is amazing. This is about as free as I can get. Jay shifts in his coat and scarf, telling him that he's very happy for him. It must be nice to have a proper secret identity. Whereas his identity is the guy who wears hats and a lot of layers. But he's glad that John can get some privacy, and that he can live with everyone knowing that Jay Nakamura is Superman's boyfriend. Just
Okay.
then, Jay looks up, telling him, "Would you look at that? A shooting star. Maybe you can wish for my secret identity back." As John looks at it, he tells Jay, "That's not a shooting star." John begins to change, and Jay tells him it's fine, no one's around. This is clearly a job for Superman. John quickly flies up, reaching out to Oracle, telling her to call in the Titans. It seems the sky is falling. Oracle says that she just got the reports from Lord Industries. Their entire near-Earth communication system has been hacked. What they are seeing is over 1,000 satellites falling out of the sky. John looks around. I can see them everywhere, all across the planet. I'd say we have about 5 minutes until
No
they all
cape.
crash land, Oracle. The Titans help where they can.
He
But
has
John
no
races
cape.
around, taking out a majority
Okay.
of the falling satellites. And suddenly, he begins to feel something. It's like the world has stopped. And there's a change inside of him. He has felt this building up before, during the Lazarus Planet event. This power. But just like that, it's gone. Oracle tells him that the satellites over Asia are disappearing, and it looks like something is taking them out and vaporizing them before they can reach the ground. It's moving too fast for her to see. So John takes out more satellites on his way towards Asia. And when he gets there, he suddenly stops when he sees what is waiting for him.
I'm going to probably
Another
fast
Superman.
forward here.
The news
I do remember this
travels
guy,
to
by the way. I have the
Seattle.
action figure.
Problematic for you, but perhaps before anger. Yeah, I know that name.
So Ultraman's
Ultraman
killing all the Supermen, kind of like Lex Luthor does in the Crisis on Infinite Earths TV
Years that I
show.
should have spent with my parents. John wakes up on the examination table, being looked over by a man that he'd never thought
Yes, we
would
know,
be
Tom Taylor
helping
writing.
Lex Luthor. John immediately jumps to his feet, telling Lex to stand back. But Lex tells him that he's going to take a wild guess, that in his world, they aren't close. Nevertheless, there is nothing for John to fear. There is, however, something that he'd like to mention. During his most recent fight, it looks like John got overloaded. John asks what does he mean, and Lex explains that his body is essentially a solar battery. His body found a way to use all of the energy that he stored in one go. It can put out an immense amount of power, but it also takes a lot out of him. Perhaps with time and training, he might be able to better control it, maybe even surpass their Superman. Lex asks what should he call him, and John tells him his name. Lex quickly puts it together that he was named after Clark's father. John Kent, of this world, was a good friend, and you couldn't have been named after a finer man. But something that you should know. This world's Clark Kent he has suffered through unspeakable tragedy, trying his best, but before he could finish, Lex enters, asking if John is awake. Lex quickly...
So I'm guessing this takes place somewhere between year one and the final conflict of Injustice 1, right? So it'd be year 6. There's a couple of years that pass in between Injustice 1 and 2. I'm not sure, but anyway. So we're looking at, Lex is still trusted by Superman. Superman's evil, but we're trying to figure out exactly what's going on here.
He is awake and he's going to be fine. Clark, meet John. Superman looks at the symbol on his son from another universe's uniform and he asks, John, if we had had a boy, that's what we would have named him. John takes his costume, telling him, you killed Ultraman. I did. I didn't want to, but after I had lost you and your mother, I wasn't going to let a man like that... Lex stops them both. What did Ultraman want? John explains that Ultraman was traveling the multiverse, killing Kal-Els across the multiverse. So John came here to stop him. That he wasn't alone. That a Superman from another universe and an android, Ultraman sent them to the Phantom Zone. Superman puts his hand on John's shoulder, telling him that he's sorry. We're going to get them back. Together. But before they could come up with a plan, an alarm goes off and the Flash runs in. He explains that there are attacks on 2 barracks, one in Gotham and one in Star City. They should probably take the Star City one since Damian and his team are already on the scene in Gotham. As Superman and Wonder Woman get ready to leave and John follows, he tells them that he wants to help. Superman turns back with a very strong no, but he catches himself at how harsh his tone was. I'm sorry, just stay here. Be safe. Be back soon. Moments later, over in the Regime barracks,
here we go.
Damian finds himself assisting some of his team from an attack, trying to determine the source.
Maybe this is year 5.
Everyone begins to wonder, Damian already knows what foe they're facing, calling out how his father should show himself. As Batman steps out, Damian says, those men that you're so keen on knocking out, they have families. Batman yells at him, family is not a protection. They chose to serve a corrupted ruler, just as you did. Damian screams as he's about to attack when suddenly John flies in, stopping him. Hey, I'm new here, but can we talk about what's happening? Damian just looks at him. Who the hell are you? But Batman's the one that figures it out. I know who he is. I don't know how he's here, but I know who you are. Damian then lifts John up, throwing him over his head. But before John could get an answer as to why Damian is so strong, Batman tells him that he blundered his way into something that he doesn't understand. Before there could be any more talking, Damian lunges in, knocking Batman into the next room. Damian then goes to follow up, but John stops him, asking him what is going on. And Damian shakes him off, shouting, get off of me! We can't let him get away! However, as Damian goes to follow, Batman has already escaped, just as Superman and the others arrive. Once things have settled, Damian looks at John, telling him, do not get in my way again. And John is just confused. What is even going on? Superman proceeds to tell him that there was a tragic accident. In this universe, Dick Grayson died, and Bruce blamed Damian.
Right.
Damian blames himself as well, but his father cast him out. But it's time we talk about what happened. As the two fly up
Yes.
into the atmosphere, Superman explains that his mother was taken from him. They were supposed to have a child, and he reacted poorly to it all.
Yep.
He was lost. But in time, a new resolve grew from his grief. He decided to do more for the world, to make the world less tragic. They began to reverse climate crisis. They've helped overthrow dictators. They've stopped
Yeah,
idiotic
they
wars
took
over
control of
beliefs
everything.
and meaningless borders. He is creating one Earth. John says that he once asked his father why he didn't do more, and Superman explains that if they were alike, then he'd have to say that his father thought it wasn't his place, but it was just an excuse. Once he accepted that he belonged, that he was a worthy citizen of this world, he knew that he had to use his power to help it. As the two begin to come back down, John says that he would like to see this world, and Superman says to him that he would love to show him. But John stops him. I'd like to go alone if I can. As John takes off, Wonder Woman tells Superman that she thinks it was a bad idea. Superman asks her, "What would you have me do? Keep him locked in the tower? I'm not going to imprison my child." But Wonder Woman stops him there. He is not your child. Your child died. John flies across the globe listening, but he hears nothing but silence. No bombs or gunfire. It's just all so quiet. That's when he hears a woman screaming, and he rushes over to the source, catching a baby falling out of a window. As he catches the child, he says that they'll find the apartment that he fell out of and make sure that it doesn't happen again. Once he does, the woman runs over ecstatic and then opens her eyes, seeing the symbol on John's chest. And terror begins to set in. John realizes her eyes are full of fear, but he also realizes it wasn't over him. It was over the symbol. John takes a moment to think again, and he realizes this world isn't quiet because it's peaceful. It's quiet because it's not free. Everyone is holding their breath because everyone is afraid to make a noise. That's when Superman arrives, asking, almost pleading, begging his son to understand. You see it, right? You notice the difference that we've made? After returning to the Hall of Justice, having seen a lot of the world under Superman's regime, John is told that the Justice League must now head back out to handle some business on the moon of Titan. Superman tells John that this time he understands the want to help, but he must stay here. He'll have everything that he'll need. As everyone leaves, John lingers around outside the watchtower, and he notices Lex Luthor suddenly leaving once the coast is clear. Later, at the Insurgency Underground Base, Batman's home base, Lex pulls up, carting out the body of Ultraman. And Batman asks, where is Superman? Lex says that he is investigating something with the others, but they only have a limited amount of time. Harley jumps up, asking, what did he bring? And when she sees the body of Ultraman, she says that she's been given one of those before, and no matter how nicely they're wrapped up, bodies are always a disappointment. Lex goes on to explain that Ultraman came here to kill Clark, the same as mine, another born liar obsessed with tearing down Superman. Everyone looks back and realizes who just flew in. Batman looks at him. Do not let him leave. And John asks, do you honestly think you can...
Well, here's a couple of interesting things, is that Lex is kind of more out in the open in this sort of retcon, because like he's there more. Whereas if you go back to the original comics from 10 years ago, he was very cautious not to be even seen. Nobody knew anything. By the time Cyborg realized, it was too late. Is when Lex really attacked Superman, that Superman had killed him during the events of Injustice. And I'm kind of shocked, it's like, okay, I keep calling him Superboy. Superman, well, there is a Superboy becoming Superman later on in Injustice 2 prequel. But John does not see how the world got so quiet. How did it get this way? So he's taking Superman's side right now, which is kind of weird, right? Like we go back to Supergirl just before Injustice 2. And the whole thing about her being kept secret, for those of you who have never understood that is the way Supergirl was originally presented in the 1950s, 1960s, where she was Superman's secret weapon, and she would never come out. And at some point she did, but she was always hidden, always stay hidden. That was an old concept.
Not me. Everyone begins to jump in, and John quickly sees that these people aren't normal humans anymore. Something is making them all a lot stronger. Before John has
Right.
a chance to react to most of the
This is the
swings,
kryptonite
Batman
pills.
grabs him, flips him on his back, slamming him onto the ground. John looks around, asking what is happening. Why are you all so strong? And just as Lex tells Batman to wait, Batman delivers a ground-shaking punch to John's face. Everyone else is holding John down, and they begin to feel something going on. Harley's the one to ask, Batman, this kid is giving an ominous glow in a way that kids really shouldn't be giving off one. Batgirl jumps in. John hesitates. Babs, stop! Batgirl is stunned. Wait, you know me? Yeah, in my world, Nightwing is my mentor. And we're both friends. And you and Dick, you're happy together. You even have a puppy called Batwing.
So
John turns to everyone. I don't want to hurt you, not even...
it seems like it's not an accident that he has the exact same S symbol as the 97 Superman costume. I seem to have a figure of that. This is the 97 costume, 97 to 98, when he turned to blue and red. But yeah, this is the I liked. The problem was that when Dan Jurgens made that version of Superman, uh, I think they were trying to figure out exactly what all of his powers were. I know most of his powers, but kryptonite does not affect him. But you can destroy the containment suit and then release Superman. But kryptonite did not affect Electric Superman way back then.
Batman, I just want to understand what's going on here and how I can help. Soon another voice joins. That's very good to hear. Why don't we all take a moment to calm down? As Alfred stirs everyone drinks, he says that he knows violence has its place, but he finds that a cup of tea and a discussion...
This might be before year 5, then.
Lex walks up, declaring that he knows that this looks bad. And John tells him, it looks like you're planning to take down Superman by stealing technology from a corpse. Alright, well, I hadn't fully considered how bad this actually looks. But I promise...
So for those of you who don't know, the two Lex and Clark were friends in this
Fighting
universe.
against my father? He is of Alfred and Batgirl, which tells me almost everything I need to know. But I'm
Yeah,
not
so he's...
leaping into a fight without investigating more.
Oh, here
So
we go.
later, John returns to the Hall of Justice.
He's not going to like what he
It's
sees.
Damian that calls him out to this guy, trying to think about who he could talk to. Who might be a voice of reason, something outside of this conflict, not on
Probably
either side of
Dr.
the battle,
Fate
the
or
insurgency
Zatanna.
the regime. And he knows of one person, and he hopes that they still exist in this universe. Over in a city, Jay Nakamura hears tapping on his window.
Right.
As he opens it, John floats there. Look, you don't know me, but we're close in my universe. Sure, that's a normal thing to hear from a guy flying outside of my window. 30 minutes later, after a bit of an explanation, Jay laughs. It's every bit as bad as you think. Probably worse. Superman is claiming that he's building a utopia, but what he's really doing is turning the planet into a prison. Here, Superman killed Green Arrow and Black Canary. Batman and his resistance are the only people standing up to the regime. Jay pauses for a moment. Why did you come to me? Alright, well, this is a little awkward, but... And Jay stops him. We're together in your world, aren't we? John smiles. Yeah. And Jay pumps his fist. Damn! Way to go, alternate universe me! John asks Jay for a hug. As John secretly meets with the Resistance,
this
he
is
learns
exciting
more
shit.
about what happened 5 years ago. I can feel for him. But none of that is an excuse for what he has done and what he's become. Now, I could see you doing that, Batman. Not the killing, because of your code. But I could see you overreaching, making sure that everyone on Earth was bulletproof. But not Superman. He doesn't get a pass because he's grieving. He needs to still be held accountable. Everyone goes quiet.
So what does he do, right?
As he asks, "Was Superman, you know?
Awkward conflict.
He always finds a way." John's face. You don't realize how dangerous this is. Superman pauses. He looks Damian up and down. Are you jealous? There's no reason for you to be. Why the hell wouldn't I be? You only met him yesterday, and you stood by him from the start. Superman's away from everything in the Fortress of Solitude. Martha says that Clark is keeping them here for safety. John asks, I would like to announce that the terrorist threat known as Batman has been captured, along with his insurgent unit. Tomorrow morning, Selena Kyle and Barbara Gordon will be imprisoned for their part in the insurgency that threatened the whole world. Bruce Wayne and Harleen Quinzel will be executed for their many crimes against humanity. The time of terror has come to an end.
Oh, shit.
As Batman is taken away, he shouts out, John will stop you! No. This Saturday, Superman. And
Yeah,
that still means
they would have been way
something
too
to him.
smart to get
He's
captured
your
this
son,
this
with
soon.
all of your moral.
Oh, they're public
Cyborg tells
executions
Superman that
now.
he has some worries about
I
John
see.
stopping what they're doing.
So this is like a
Superman is sure
alternate
that John won't
timeline of the
interfere.
timeline that's
He
already
is
an alternate of
Superman's
something
son,
else.
after all, even if he is from another universe. But Cyborg says that if John does, you won't have to fight him. After going through Luthor's scans of John, I was able to determine what universe he came from. And I'm currently working on something that can send John back to his own universe. Superman tells him that John
Why not just
will
take
see
over?
the good that they've done.
Take
But
over that
Wonder Woman
universe as
shares
well.
the concerns of Cyborg that Superman's judgment might be clouded. Just in case, be at the ready. John lantern ring.
Yep.
His yellow light burning above Gamora. But Jay Nakamura isn't there. The individual that John sought out to get advice from. The individual that he spends a lot of his time with on his world. And now that he's taking the ring off, Hal Jordan looks scared. Next up, it's time for the one that John was most afraid of, Wonder Woman.
No.
He can't hold back what he faces her, and he has to use everything that he has.
Yeah,
He has
she's
the
a
power of Hermes,
bitch and a
the
half.
god of
She killed
speed
Steve
when
Trevor.
he is
Steve
fast.
Trevor was a
She
traitor
begins
for
to
the
react
Nazis,
as they're
but
passing Jupiter. He is moving
he
quicker
she
than
killed
he
him
ever
anyway.
has before, faster than any ancient deities. He's stronger than he's ever been, but she is still Diana, Princess of Themyscira. And she still manages to attack him as he begins to check in with everyone, and as he gets no answers from most, Jay Nakamura from his cell asks if the soldiers are answering. Sounds like your son might have gotten to them. Superman glares. You poisoned him. What? I didn't poison him. Maybe you're just toxic and John didn't need his super eyes to see that. Superman bends to the bars, grabbing Jay, when there's a suddenly karoom! As John bursts through the wall asking Superman, do you care to take this outside? With all the people still awaiting execution, John looks at him. You've got quite the crowd. They're here to see Batman and Quinzel. No idea what you've done. I stopped a public execution. I'm not overthinking it. You have been here for 5 minutes, and you think that you can judge me? Do you have any idea what I've lost? What I've done to protect this planet? Superman holds up Jay. If this man died in my hands, what would you do? John looks at him. I would do whatever it takes to ensure that you face justice. And no more. Do you really think that? Do you think you're stronger than anger? Stronger than grief? Superman has to be, John tells him. Suddenly there's a crack as Superman breaks Jay's arm. Then we should test that. John begins to channel all of his energy that he has stored up while in space. Show me! Do your worst! Show the world! John begins to run at his top speed. He goes faster than he ever has before. Faster than Superman. Stronger. He won't be able to do it for long, but he can do it long enough. As he moves forward, he extends his arms and he hugs Superman. I'm sorry for what has happened to you, but it doesn't excuse anything that you've done. You have to face justice. No matter how powerful, no matter how much influence you hold, powerful people must also be held accountable. This world has to have the same laws for everyone. With a booming backhand telling him, fight me not, Superman. There's no way you could be my father. John looks back at the crowd of people. There's something wrong with this universe. You all need to know that Superman doesn't kill. Superman doesn't lead with fear and violence. Superman isn't cruel or vengeful. Superman is a friend. Superman helps, always. And if you can't accept the truth from me, then perhaps there's someone else that you need to hear it from. John begins to pull out a recording and he plays it. It's the recording that Lois gave him before leaving. She informs him of how proud she is of him for making the hard decision to endure it all and still be compassionate. And that is his greatest power. Superman watches and he listens. And just as it seems Lois' words are beginning to have an effect on him, there's another loud kroom as John is struck from behind. He looks at himself and he sees himself fading from existence. Behind him, Cyborg stands with the portal gun. It's time for you to go back to where you came from. Superman yells for him not to go. Don't leave me again! I truly hope that you find a better path. That you can reflect on what you've done and you can change. But regardless, humanity is watching you, Kal-El. They've all seen. Some of them will still worship you, but most will see exactly how weak you are, how lost. What you had here is over. As John begins to fade, he reappears in his own Earth, back home, away from that twisted world. He now understands why his father hesitates to do more. It's not because it would be too hard to tackle more of the world's problems, it's because it would be too easy. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and don't forget to...
So does it end well or does it end badly with the shrieks and howls? So, what would I give this story? These span over a few comic books. This is Tom. The thing is, and I've said this before, it's not about gay versus straight, and I will never say fuck all of you who are extreme left. Okay, gay marriage is just as bad as heterosexual marriage. There are domestic violence issues. There are lovers' spats. There are lovers' quarrels. There are always going to be problems. It's just that in one couple you have immediate baby making, and the other couple you don't. You have to get a surrogate mother. That's how it works. But having said that, I don't like it when writers shove relationships in your face. You know, I think Clownfish said it once that, like, we want to see Superman punching things. We don't want to see him with his boyfriend every page, every panel. So I've seen some panels where that has to be front and center. There's no guarantee that Nakamura, Jay, is not going to get killed by the regime. There's no guarantee of that. The idea was that Harley and Batman and other people would stay hidden, especially Harley and Batman, because those were the two big people to be in Superman's target, the regime's target. Wonder Woman would go after them, kill him. You know she would, right? If you've read those comic books, you know she would. I'm currently rereading Injustice versus Masters of the Universe. I'm wrapping it up. For me, it's fun to read these again. Was this fun? Not really, no. But it's like, okay, you're taking John Kent, putting him in the Injustice universe, probably around year 3 or 4, maybe year 5, but probably around 3 or 4. Okay, Superman's not completely evil yet. He's not sitting on his throne yet. I didn't see him sit on his throne, so he's still trying to do the right things. I think the space station's still out there, so he's still trying to be the right guy. But by the time you get to year 4 and 5, he's lost his mind. He's lost his damn mind at that point. And after Injustice 2, he's just too far gone with the Brainiac technology. But yeah, C for this. I'd say it's okay to read it. But if you don't read it and you stick to the Injustice prequels, years 0 through 5, Ground Zeroes, the Injustice 2 prequel, and then the Injustice 2 game, Justice 2 1 game, Justice 1 and 2 games, and then you get to Masters of the Universe. If you just read all that, you don't have to read anything else. This is not necessary. It's just there if you're a fan of John Kent. But this sort of borders on the cartoon that I had watched last week. It's not as bad, but it's sort of leads toward that narrative where there's not a lot of time to care about these heroes, the regime or the insurgency, and there's not a lot of time to care about Superman, what he does. You would think, okay, he's gonna stand trial and do the right thing, even though later on he kills the Joker clan. He does a lot of different things. I just feel overall that it was kind of a waste, but was significantly better. This was better than the animated movie, but not by a lot. And when you go back and read those books, way better. Play the video games. Those are way better. So that's it. We'll talk about more Injustice stuff next week if you like. Stay tuned for that.